Welcome to Open BxRx Tuesday on BronxNet. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne, and I'd like to invite you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. After years of protests, President Joe Biden finally announced debt relief for up to $10,000 in federal education and up to $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients who meet the income threshold. Despite this shift in student debt relief, many are questioning whether these changes are enough. Senior Strategic Organizer for RootsAction, India Walton, joins me to discuss the state of student debt loans. India, thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning, Kibin. Thank you for having me.
Now, what was your initial reaction when the cancellation of student loans up to 20K was announced?
It's like if you ask your mom for pizza for dinner and instead you get broccoli. It's still food, but it's not what we asked for, and it's definitely not as good as what advocates and activists have been asking for.
Now, do you think the 10K to 20K cancellation was helpful at all?
I think it is helpful. There are a lot of borrowers who have less than 10K in student debt. I think that expanding the amount to $20,000 for Pell recipients who tend to be on the lower income end of the spectrum is good policy. But means testing an application in the bureaucracy is going to keep a lot of folks who would otherwise qualify from being able to pursue the cancellation is going to cause some barriers to access for many people.
Now, could you give us a little background on this? What is the typical amount of student debt that many people are facing today?
Well, it depends on who you are, right? It depends on the demographic. But we do know that African American women, Black women, tend to carry a heavier student debt loan than other parts of the population. So that's why it's important to me to see that we go one step further and just provide more, not only more relief, but also just deal with the predatory loan system and also tuition costs and make sure that folks can access higher education at low or no cost.
Now, many people aren't impressed, with the news of 10 to 20K. Although helpful, people weren't impressed because the Biden administration made huge promises. Can you explain what some of those promises were?
We thought that 50K was the low bar. We were asking for full cancellation of all student debt across the board without means testing. But at the very least, on the campaign trail, it did sound to us like 50K would be the low bar. And we saw the bar move even lower than that. But what this cancellation has proven is that it can happen by executive order. So we're looking forward to see what happens further down the line.
Now, you just mentioned that you were thinking 50K would be on the low end. And so to hear 10K, I'm sure that's like, whoa, that's a lot lower than what we were expecting. Can you just explain why this student debt relief just simply isn't enough?
Well, people in our generation, in my generation, have been told that if you go to college, that's your entryway into the American dream. And we have just seen housing costs skyrocket, healthcare costs skyrocket. Folks who are delaying major life decisions like home ownership or even furthering their education or starting families because they're strapped with exorbitant amount of student loan debts. And when you think about certain fields who it's not paying off for them. So I think that the closer we can get folks to zero student debt, the better it is for the economy, the better it is for American morale, and the better it is for Democrats going into the midterms.
Now, although many people are disappointed, they're saying that they're not surprised by this move, calling it business as usual Democratic Party policymaking. And your organization also feels Democrats in Congress could be doing so much more. Can you tell me a little bit more about your stance on this?
Sure. Our stance is not only do we want to see full cancellation that's not means tested, but we also have to do something about the high price of education in this country. We definitely know that nations thrive more with an educated citizenry. So we want to see Congress not only take further steps to relieve student loan debt, but also to make sure that tuition is fair and that higher education can be accessed for free.
And do you think that people maybe have a right to feel a little bit disappointed in Democrats? I know a lot of people were assuming or expecting this party to kind of come through when it came to student debt cancellation.
When you have super majorities, we especially those of us on the progressive left expect for work to get done and boundaries to get pushed, and instead we still get the same lackluster sort of responses, right? Instead of 50K, we got 10K in student debt cancellation. The infrastructure bills and climate bills are not as robust as we would want them to be. We saw the overturning of Roe. So we really are expecting our Democratic delegation to be able to deliver for the folks who keep electing them over and over again, thinking that we're going to see some real progress. And I think it's about time they deliver on that.
Now, your organization categorized student loan debt as a racial justice issue. Can you please explain why?
Sure. I wrote an op-ed, it's on Common Dreams, that talks about a saying that if America has a cold, then the Black community has the flu. And that tends to be true in all areas of our society, whether it's health outcomes or unemployment rates. Black folks get it just a little bit, if not a lot worse. And generational wealth gaps have meant that when Black people do pursue higher education, more often than not, we are reliant on student loans, not only to pay tuition and buy books, but to also just keep our families afloat while we attend school.
Now, you talked about generational wealth. Would you say that contributes to why it's a little bit challenging for Black borrowers to repay their student loans?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first I want to reiterate that wealthy people don't take out student loans. They don't have to because they have the money to pay tuition, right? But I mean, you know, there are studies that show that even with the bachelor's degree, Black women make significantly less than their white counterparts, male counterparts. So, student loan cancellation is definitely a racial justice issue, along with all of the other systems that keep Black people from upward mobility in society, and student loans is just one of those things.
Now, are there any new or different student debt loan full cancellation proposals that you may have or are thinking of?
We don't have any proposals. We are really supporting the work and the foundation that have been laid by Strike Debt in their student loan campaign, and they actually have campaigns to cancel all kinds of debts. So I would suggest that folks follow the Debt Collective, um, and I think that the next step is to work with our congressional delegation and legislators to figure out how we make higher education free for most people.
Now, I'm curious to know, why do you think this has just been such an ongoing challenge? And even when it seems like we're making progress, we look at what it is and it's like, oh, we're still not there yet. Why do you think it's taking so long?
Um, we have a society where everything is a commodity, and if people feel like they're going to make less money, even if it's the right thing to do, there's a reluctance to get it done. So long and short of it is capitalism.
Now, how can people learn more about what they currently qualify for?
Sure. You can visit studentaid.gov. You can go to our page at progressivehub.net/without student debt. And you can also follow RootsAction on Twitter.
And can you just let everybody know a little bit more about your organization and what you guys do?
Sure. We do a lot of digital organizing and advocacy work concerning anti-war and anti-nuclear efforts, and also things that focus on racial, social, and economic justice.
And can you tell us a little bit more about your organization's work in regards to student loan debt and stuff like that?
Sure. We act as a support in getting the word out about student loan cancellation. We are running petitions. We are encouraging folks to call the president and call their congresspeople about this, and just being a conduit to continue to spread the word about what's available.
And I'm so glad you actually mentioned that because I wanted to know like what else can people do to make their because it seems like we're doing so much already. What can people do even further to kind of hit home that like we need full student loan cancellation?
Yeah, I think that we just continue to put pressure on the administration, put pressure on your Congress folks to get this done. If you can, write letters, make phone calls, and go sign that petition. I think that the fact that we began this campaign with the president saying that there was really nothing that could be done about it, to seeing him use executive action is proof that the pressure of the public actually works. So we have to keep the pressure on and keep demanding more.
Now, how can people stay up to date with your organization?
Sure. You can find us at rootsaction.org, or again, follow this campaign at progressivehub.net/without student debt.
All right, India, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more Open BXRX Tuesday.